ASAP Elite. Today's guest was the third round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals. Known for his ability to totally decapitate ball carriers, Fulcher has been able to tackle systemic injustice and cultural progression with that same reckless abandon that led him to 3 Pro Bowls and a 1988 first team All-Pro selection. From Los Angeles, California, the pride of Fremont High, Mr. David Fulcher. Hello, sir.
How you doing, my friend? Glad to be here, man. Glad to be here.
Wonderful, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This means a lot to me, man. So would you do our audience the honor, introducing yourself, explaining how you were introduced to football pretty much up until the time it was you decided to hang up the cleats?
Well, I'm a young man that was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. My dad was a police officer for 25 years in LA, retired when he was 3. And he wanted us to, I had a brother, older brother, an older sister, and a younger sister. He wanted us to get involved with sports, not into the games and the violence. And he decided that the first thing he was going to do is teach us how to play tennis. Now, I didn't want to play no tennis, but we had a tennis racket in our hand and trying to learn how to play that. And then that didn't go well. And then picked up a baseball bat and then some football cleats and then a basketball. And that's how it all started. It started with, the attitude of success is not made by how much money you make. Success is the people who get knocked down, get back up and try to keep doing it and get better. And so I started playing football, basketball, and baseball in high school. And I got drafted by the Atlanta Braves to play baseball. But I didn't want to play baseball. I got a scholarship at Arizona State to play football. And I took that scholarship. And, I was a wide receiver when I was a young man playing football. And I wanted to catch touchdowns because I could jump over everybody. And when I jumped in, tried to catch an interception or a touchdown, I wound up hitting somebody and I knocked him out. And that's where the full rock came from, because they said I hit like a rock. And from there, man, it was, an opportunity to play in the NFL. And Cincinnati gave me a chance. There was a trivia question out there. One of the first players who was drafted by the NFL as a junior would be David Fulcher. They weren't taking juniors back in 1986. So I had to petition to go to the NFL, and 2 weeks before the end of the draft, I got accepted. And when I got accepted, there were a bunch of teams talking about drafting me. And the first round went by, second round went by, and I got a call from the Raiders, hometown team. If you're there, we're going to pick you. And they had to pick after the Bengals, but then I got that call from the Bengals, and I became a Cincinnati Bengal in 1986 of the draft in 86. And from there, I've done a lot of things, man. I know I'm going on and on, but I've done a lot of things since I retired from football. I started a foundation for multiple sclerosis because my wife, Judy, was diagnosed with that 23 years ago.
We're definitely going to get into that, Mr. Fulcher. I'm going to lead into that one. Yes, sir. I got you.
So, there's a lot of things that I've done. And like I said, I'll let you lead into them. But, my life has been fulfilled with not just football, but just everyday life. And I'm just giving back to the way it was given to me.
All right. Now, one of the things that you talked about, and I think this is not only helpful in sports, but it's helpful in life. You said that you came into college as a receiver, correct?
Yes.
And then was transitioned to safety. Now, having played on the other side of the ball, how did that come in? How did it come into play as your play as a safety?
Well, that's where I try to tell people about. You ever hear the word student of the game? Student of the game is somebody who studies it, who prepares for it. I wasn't the best. I don't feel like I was the best student of the game. But when I was playing wide receiver, it kind of made it really easy as a transition to go to DB because I'm doing exactly the same thing as a receiver. You're trying to catch the ball, but you also have to hit somebody. And it made it easy for me because every time the ball was thrown up, I remember my receiver skills. Go get it. Reach at the highest point to go get it. But on top of that, when I couldn't reach for the highest point because the ball was somewhere else, then I had a receiver to hit. So it made it kind of easy for me to do those things. And the transition was kind of tough because Arizona State, the only school that wanted me to play wide receiver was Arizona State. USC, UCLA, all these other big schools, my hometown schools, wanted me to play safety, and I didn't want to play safety. If I would have thought to play safety, I probably would have played at USC or UCLA. But I didn't want to play safety. I wanted to catch touchdowns. And when they allowed me to transition over, and Arizona State kind of turned their back on me every time I would run a passing route, they weren't helping me. So once I decided to ask, could I play safety, they were like, sure. And then I get a phone call from the defensive back coach, and he said that we wanted you to play safety all from the beginning, but we wanted you to make that decision. And yes, I made that decision to play it.
Oh, wow. Now, I decided 2 weeks ago to go to the Washington State game because of the 1995 Rose Bowl. I was there with my brother,
Yes.
J.R. Redmond.
Yes.
I chose to pick that one, but I should have chose the next week. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. You know, but more so just for the moxie, you know, and the no excuses. Got to get it done, stick to itness to go back and get that degree.
Yes.
Kudos.
Let me tell you, that was something that my daughter, Kayla, who was a college softball player at Thomas More University of Division III here in Kentucky, Cincinnati. She graduated in 2017. And what she wanted me to do was, she said, Dad, you need to finish. And so what I did was I heard, I was on the phone. I heard a ASU online on the phone here. I mean, I'm sorry, not on the phone, in the car in Cincinnati. And I was like, ASU online, is that, are you talking about Arizona State or is another ASU? So I found out that it was Arizona State online, and the NFL has a truck that they work with former and current players on finishing their education. So I had to write an essay.
Okay.
And the essay was pretty simple. The essay was, my daughter who graduated told me that her dad needs to finish and why I want to finish. And I was so close to graduating when I was in college. Can I finish? And they awarded me a $20,000 scholarship 2 years in a row, which paid for my college. I did it online. And let me tell you, man, it has been the best thing that I think I've ever done in my life. I mean, I played professional football, played in the Super Bowl, went to Pro Bowls, Player of the Year, did all those things. But to go back and finish was probably the best thing I've ever done, because it was not easy. Like I said, man, I've been away from school since '86. And then to go in 2019 and go back to school, let me tell you, 2 + 2 didn't look like 4. It was difficult, man, because I hadn't seen that stuff for so long. But that was probably one of the most proudable moments that I've had in my life.
Hey, David, do you want to know how the universe works, man? We were probably going through that same thing at the same time. Yep. I got mine 3 years ago at 37, you know.
Yep.
Full family, you know, full-time career, you know, no excuses. Like I said, I know how that is, because a lot of people don't take that journey. So that's, like I said, I tip my hat to that, you know.
I appreciate that. I really do. That was it was hard, because I had to ask my daughter, you know, hey, I got this English 101, math. She was like, Dad, you don't know that? I said, well, here's the thing. Not having to go to school for the last 30 years, I have to refresh my memory. Please get me started. Once she got me started, I was good to go.
Yeah, see, my route was a little different. You know, I went to the University of Tulsa on a track scholarship, and I considered getting my master's degree, but I kind of got deboed by our dean of students, Yolanda Taylor.
Yeah.
Shout out to Yolanda Taylor, because I called her after I was getting ready to go home for the summer after graduation. And I call her just to let her know, hey, I'm about to go home, because she was one of those dean of students that really interacted with the student body and was, you know, always there for us. But especially being at a predominantly white university, she looked out. She definitely, you know, was a mother figure, if you will, to a lot of the Black students. And so I call her and I'm like, yeah, I'm about to go. And she's like, okay, you graduated, so what you gonna do now? And then I said, well, I got a couple of interviews set up at home, and you know, when I get back to the house. And she totally disregarded that. She's like, oh, so you're gonna go to grad school? And I was just like, I mean, I've considered it. And she's like, well, what do you need it paid for? I can get you a graduate assistantship. And I was just like, well, I mean, I'm considering. She's like, all right, be in my office on Monday at at 1 o'clock. She didn't hear anything I had to say. All she knew is that as far as she was concerned, I was going to grad school, but was in her office at 1 o'clock. And I had two graduate assistant opportunities.
The David Fulcher Foundation was created in order to help find a cure for multiple sclerosis. What exactly is multiple sclerosis for our audience?
Well, it's funny, man. So multiple sclerosis, it's a nerve. How do I explain it? It's an immune system, nervous that it kind of attaches the nervous system. So my wife, when she was diagnosed 20 something years ago, was driving down the highway and had a sharp pain hit her in her left side of her brain. And, hours later, or not even hours later, minutes later, she, after she pulled off the side of the road, she became paralyzed from the head to toe and just had no idea what was going on. And they rushed her to the hospital, and it was more of, they thought maybe she had a stroke. But what it did was she had lesions on the spine right in between her neck and the back of her head that was putting pressure on her nerves. And it paralyzed her for like 4 or 5 months. And then she had to learn how to walk again. But she's been healthy for the last 23 years because of the grace of God.
Amen.
And we tell people that daily, the medicine that is given sometimes doesn't work, but the medicine that is given from the man upstairs with prayer works all the time. And so we've been lucky, we've been fortunate. And what my foundation does now, those that are affected by MS, we will team up with a group called A Gift of Hope, which has everyone that's part of that Gift of Hope has the MS. So my wife and I, when I do autograph signings, when I do appearances, I do a lot of autograph signings. I do a lot of special appearances, and people pay me for it. I normally take that money and apply it to my foundation to help those families that are in need. And what my wife and I do is we'll get 7 to 8 families per year that we go grocery shopping and clothes shopping and deliver to them on Christmas and Thanksgiving. And that's where those monies come from. So, I'm just very fortunate, man, that I've got a wife who has MS, but MS doesn't have her.
That's right.
And we all work together, man. So when she's exhausted, I'm exhausted. I don't want her to look like that everything is going good for me, but bad for her. And then she never quits. And we're just a working team, man. And we just don't stop.
I see
that's how it was designed.
Yeah, I see that commitment, man.
Absolutely.
I say I would like to know more, so I would like we talk further about that. Yes, sir. All right, this is a question that I thought of. Does it affect any particular demographic more so than the others, such as diabetes to African Americans?
Well, I'm a type 2 diabetic, so I know exactly when it comes to it. I've been a diabetic for 15 years. Mm-hmm. I think the demographics that it affects men harder than it does women. There is no black and white. It's that when it hits a man gets knocked down really, really fast. And we've got some friends who are wheelchair bound, walking on canes, just don't have the strength that they normally would have had more than women. And like I said, we were fortunate because my wife's neurologist used to get mad at her because she wouldn't take any medicine. And like I told you before, the medicine, the man from upstairs is what we need, and that's what she's taking.
Right.
So demographics of it hitting more men than it does women is probably harder on men than it is women.
Wow. Well, Lisa, especially in our culture, we don't know too much about these things that are so important. So thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate it. Has there been any since beginning the David Fulcher Foundation, has there been any advancements towards a cure?
Well, that's the funny thing about it. At the beginning, we were raising so much money that we were giving it to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. we had no idea that, where was that money going?
Yeah.
Trying to go for a cure, and there hasn't been a cure. So that's why we stopped working with the National Society and started giving it to personal families in need.
Okay.
So yeah, there hasn't been a cure on it. I really don't know if there's going to be a cure. Probably not. But I know the small monies that I was making to give to the foundation, to the National Society, I would rather give it to the people in need.
Absolutely. No, and I think that that's definitely the way to go, because of the fact that, the people in your local area, right? Because you're drawing from a specific area, and
Yes.
it makes sense that you want to help the people in that particular area. When you give it to the National Society, especially if you're not in there to get to see what they're doing and how it's being utilized. Some of, like, a lot of times, some of your the associations, they actually let folks behind the scenes to see where that money's going to. But when that's not done, then it's just like, okay, so did I just pay somebody's salary?
It's a community aspect too.
Absolutely. Definitely. You definitely got to take care of home.
So think about this. So when I write a check, or I'll give you an example, when Carson Palmer and Chad Johnson and TJ Husmanzada was here, I had a sports store and I had those guys come out and sign autographs. They charged me $10,000, but we raised $100,000 in about 8 hours because there were so many people there.
Oh, wow.
I write a big old $80,000, $70,000 check to the National Society. And when I hear the president say, "Hey, Herbert, put this in the bank so we can get paid," I had to wait. Whoa, what did you just say?
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what? I can't do it anymore. And that was about, 15 years ago. I said, I can't do that anymore. So we teamed up with the Gift of Hope. And that's when we people, 25, 30 people, 40 people, that's part of that Gift of Hope. We take care of them yearly.
Oh, man. Yeah. Now, what prompted you to found Mentoring Against Negative Actions? I see that go ahead.
Mentoring Against Negative Actions. So 25 years ago, I was working with a young man I was mentoring who got in trouble, and he was arrested from the school. And I went into the jail to bring him his schoolwork. And the sheriff then, Sheriff Lease, asked me what was I doing in there. Knew I was a Bengal, blah, blah, blah. And I just told him, I said, "Hey, I'm here to make sure this kid doesn't get left behind." And he asked me, can I put together a program that can help the inmates that were incarcerated? And I said, sure. So, 25 years ago, had a program. 10 years after that, that program dissolved. The guy that was running the program, he left. So then I took it over and I said, I got to figure out how we can continue to keep doing what we're doing, but make it a little bit better, more aggressive. And I was sitting in the class with about 30 guys, and one guy said, "You need to change the name." I said, "Well, what name do you want it?" He said, "Call it Manna, M-A-N-A, manna." Well, you go to the Bible, it's the fruit, from the seed that the Christ that gave us. Yeah. So I said, Manna, Mentoring Against Negative Action, and that's what the kid named it. So the kid that was in my class named it Manta. What better person to mentor someone who's doing bad things, somebody who's always been in bad things?
That's right.
So that program has been blown up, man. And I'm now in 2 jails here in Cincinnati. And I just continue to be blessed with the word from the man upstairs and my class, I call it a common sense class. Everything that I learned as a kid is common sense. So let me get back to the basics with the kids today and teach common sense. And that's how I got it started.
That's all right.
All right. Now, that. Considering the prison industry is, systemically structured to be a revolving door, do you believe that the inmates that acquire those such skills end up countering recidivism?
Let me tell you, man, I think it's tough because society, I worked my tail off for the last 25 years, gaining the trust of society to give my guys who are getting out a chance to come back in society and make something out of themselves. You know, you and I lose our jobs, we're probably going to find one within a week or two.
That's right.
But then start talking about a guy who's been incarcerated, who goes back to society asking for a change, and he can't get a change because he's got a record. Well, then you know what he's going to do? He's going to go back out there, rob, steal, and cheat because he's got to live. So if I can get these companies, and I've got 100 companies that I work with over the last 25 years, who will hire guys with records, as long as they're clean. You know, they got to drop, they got to take a drug test. As long as they're clean, they're going to have a job. But then I have to tell my guys, listen, I'm putting my name on this.
That's right.
I don't want you to go out there and mess up my name.
Oh.
So if you're not ready, don't take the information. But if you're ready, go get it. And then they have to call me. I can't call them. I shouldn't want it more than you to be a better person in the world. You got to want it. And that's what I stress every day, man. I talk to them guys like they're my own kids. And I talk to guys who are 60, 70 years old. I talk to guys who are 20 years old. If you're hungry, go to the refrigerator and get you something to eat. If you stand back, you're going to starve.
Yep. No way around it. No way around it. Now, I also believe that with, the prison industry, like I say, it's designed, like I say, it's kind of like a recycle, dynamic. You get out, you can't, employ yourself to the certain standards that you would like to legally, and you're confined to being accepted by a lot of the same companies that, work within the prison system. You get what I'm saying? That they work, whether they're designing the cutlery or AT&T out inside of the prison, different jobs and so many industries being supplied from the prison industry itself, as the grassroots level. It makes it a lot, it's tough. It's tough, man. So that's definitely needed just to be prepared for your breakthrough.
And it is tough. But see, this is where I try to explain to an employer as well as the guys who I work with. And not every guy I work with comes out of jail and wants to start a new life. See, we're all programmed. The people who don't do wrong, they're programmed. I wake up every morning at 6:30. I come to this school till 2:30. When I'm done at 2:30, either I'm going into the jail or I'm going home. I'm tired. And then I do it again tomorrow. I do that 5 days a week. I'm programmed. A guy who's a hustler, who's going to jail, he's programmed every 15 minutes to make money in 15 minutes, and then he does nothing else. And what is he doing for the other rest of the time? He's either out there hanging out with his boys, having a drink, sitting on the front porch. He's not programmed. So when I talk to my guys, I got to get you programmed. And if it takes you working 2 jobs and on your feet for 24 hours, 18 hours, you should be tired when you go home. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to do it again the next day. And those guys aren't programmed. They're programmed to hustle. Let me tell you something, man. If I lose my job and I know White Castle's or McDonald's is hiring, I'm going to work at McDonald's. See, they don't see it that way. McDonald's, I can't believe I'm working at McDonald's. Listen, man, I'm not working for me. I'm working for my family. That's right. And they got to eat. This is what I have to do. So once again, when I talk the way I'm talking common sense.
Yeah.
Not saying you're a dumb person, but common sense says, let me have my money direct deposit in the bank instead of having it in my pocket every day, because everybody knows I got money in my pocket. You just have to change the way you think. And some guys get it, some don't. For 25 years, I probably talked to over 20,000 people that have been incarcerated. How many of those people have gotten out? I don't know everybody, but my percentage is pretty high because I don't know if they went back to jail, but I also don't know if they called me because some of them don't call. When I don't hear from you, I think you're being successful, staying out of trouble. When I hear from you, you must be hungry. It's time to go to the refrigerator and eat. Let's go get it.
Well,
thank God for people like yourself, because, here it's almost like the society is built to set, those who have been incarcerated up for failure, right? Because the thing is although we want them, we say, right, that we want them to be productive citizens in society, but then we hold them back because there's most of the jobs they can't get.
Nope.
Then we take their voting rights away from them. So
Yeah.
we say you can't vote and you can't work the job you want, but hey, stay on the straight and narrow. You be good. And
You know,
so it takes people like yourself, right? Because in order to really make a difference, society needs a paradigm shift, not just the men and the men you're working with.
you're right, man. You're 100% right, because I work with probation officers who are telling these guys to go out and get a job. I want you to get a job in 30 days. Well, they're battling their battle is hard for 30 days. And
30
then if
days,
you
they got time on the clock.
I'm gonna violate you and you're going back to jail.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, come on, man. I mean, shouldn't it be find a job, help that person find a job? Don't put a restriction on them and say you got to do it in 30 to 60 days because he has a battle. He has a hill to climb. That's why I got into this, man, that I said, I'm going to hand you this piece of paper, young man, and there's 100 people on here that will hire you. You got to call them. You got to call them. And when you call them, you tell them that David Fulcher sent you. Mm-hmm. And you know what they're going to say? If David sent you, it must be true. But you got to do it. And when they do the work, they got a job. You can't go to work on Monday and Tuesday and be tired on Wednesday. You got to go to work, man. If you tired, you rest on Saturday and Sunday. And it's just changing the way they think because they have the mentality and the mindset of, I've been hustling all my life. I'm going to do it when I feel like doing it. I may make $3,000 in one day. I don't have to do nothing for the next 2 days. No, dude, them days are over. Yeah. You get a paycheck every 2 weeks. And you got to live for every 2 weeks.
Hey, have you had other plans with a mentorship program, so important to maybe help those, that's not in the prison system, but lacking basic instructions, which a lot of time leads directly to the prison industry?
Well, I will tell you this here. I have communicated with so many people outside of the prison system. And that's one reason why I took this job here at Mason High School, diversity coordinator and a campus supervisor, because these young men and women in the school, 12, 15, 18 years old, don't get the concept of reality and making better choices. Mm-hmm. So I took this job so I could come in here and I take the same mindset that I have in the prison system, mm-hmm. and I'm gonna work with a 16, 17-year-old boy who thinks that his stuff doesn't stink. Mm-hmm. Listen, man, I can take you somewhere so you could see the other side of how bad you think you are. And when you go into this prison and you see this, now it's a reality check. You guys might be too young, but maybe know about this. The Scared Straight program that they had out in California, yeah. And they had it on TV. All them dudes was going there. They took a whole bunch of guys from my high school in there, and them guys came out of that high school. Let me tell you, they was seeing Tweety birds because they quit being all that tough dude. And sometimes, man, it takes something like that to grab somebody's attention. So let me tell you, man, I'm mentoring 24/7. Whether it's a person incarcerated or a kid that's a high school kid walking down the hallway. I'm steady talking. My mouth gets tired. My head gets hurting because I'm steady teaching of something that is necessary. And you don't have to have a father to do the right thing. But if you got a mama, you need to respect that mama's word. And sometimes, man, kids don't get it. I grew up with both of my parents. I didn't agree with everything my mom and dad said. My dad told me to be in the house when the street lights came on. And in California, that was 6 o'clock.
That's
and
right.
When I'm telling you, when I started blinking at 5:55, I was in the house. But see, you can't tell the kid that today. That's right. Because they're entitled to, you know what, I'm grown. Well, no, you're not grown when you're living in my house.
Yeah, not the one here.
You can be grown when you're on your own. Yeah. And I think sometimes
and being grown is overrated anyways.
Oh yeah. Because I don't think I was grown when I was in college. Yeah. I don't think I was grown until when I got drafted, because I still asked my mom and my daddy for help. Sure. So until I realized that I had my own kids, you know what? Oh, now the responsibility has changed. I got kids to take care of.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, one thing in addition to that prison conversation, it also creates 3/5 of people. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
You can take it back further than that, but servitude and philanthropy.
Yes.
You said that you're at Mesa High.
Mason High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, servitude and philanthropy. One thing that I got out of this interview instantly was the light that you shed. You know, with these things, you know, you trying to, what you doing all these great things, man, it has to come down to your spirituality and religion. How much of a part did that play in your career? Well, up in
Wow.
everyday life up until now, you know, pretty much.
Well, I can tell you this here, man. You know, I don't. I'm not a. I won't say I'm not a religious man, but I am. But I tell you, most of my life, man, has just been from my dad. My dad and his environment, his upbringing, and his structure.
Yes, sir.
You know, I think a lot of our kids want structure, need structure, but I think a lot of times, man, it's hard because their environment, their surroundings, they don't do some of the things that that I did. I look at the stuff today, and I feel like this. I put in perspective that I grew up on the Flintstones. Today it's the Jetsons. So you can see where I grew up and how I was raised. But it's like, how do I tell a kid to slow down and go to the rock quarry when he's got this spaceship flying around doing what he want to do? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So it's like, David, you got to figure out how to get from the rock quarry, the square wheels, the using your feet to drive your car, to a car that you just push a button and it does all the work for you. And that's been the difficult change for me, because you know, we're doing this podcast here, and I'm thinking, okay, you know, 35 years ago, there wasn't a podcast.
Right.
You know, I got a brick phone, and I'm talking to somebody on the brick phone.
Yeah.
And today, I see everybody with a cell phone in their hand, and I'm thinking, how do I tell that kid to get off that phone when that's all he knows? He doesn't know what I know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and even just what you did right there, when you said on the phone, you went like this. You do. The kids don't know that that's the phone signal. When we say, okay, you know, you go like that, what does that mean? We know that means hang up the phone.
Hang up the phone, man.
They're like this. They don't know what that means. Like, you know, I just realized my son doesn't know what a dial tone is.
Oh, my kids know.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, man, that dial.
They don't know what a dial tone is.
That thing going in a circle? Oh man, they don't know about that.
Oh yeah,
Rotary.
Yeah, I remember when call waiting was like something that was like, well, you all got call waiting.
Oh wait, yes.
And forget caller ID. We don't even go there. You had to be.
Let me just tell you guys this, man. I would love to sit here, man, as long as I can, but I got to get back to patrolling the hallways, and I got a couple of kids I mentor that I talk to.
All right.
I've been blessed. Yes, sir.
We're on the last question here. Then it played out. The time sequence was perfect. All right. So, like I said, before we go, man, you know, the wisdom, you know, it's a wonderful thing. Will you give us, our audience, the opportunity of you to provide a few words of affirmation?
So let me tell you, man, I was, you know, when I was about 7 years old, I had a gentleman come up to me, and he was actually our landlord in my house when my mom and dad paid rent. And he was driving I think it was like a 79 Jaguar, the old Jag. And I saw him driving that Jag, and I asked him a question: how did you get that? And he told me, I'm a businessman. Now, you know, 7 years old, businessman in LA. Okay, so how much drugs you sold? He said, no, I don't sell drugs. I own a couple of apartment complexes, and I own a couple of houses. And I asked him, well, how did you do that? He said, I went to school. And I heard that. And I said, wow. And that was when I was in the 7th grade. I lived in my mom and dad's house all the way up till I was 18 years old. I went to college, and then I got drafted. And I pulled up in front of the house in an 86 brand new BMW. And I saw the landlord. And the first thing he said to me was, so how much drugs did you sell to get that? Yeah. Told him, I said, well, let me tell you something, man. You inspired me many, many years ago when I was in the 7th grade, because you told me, being a black man, you had to work hard to get what you got. And I told him, I said, 2 weeks ago, I was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, and I bought myself a car. And you gave me that inspiration. You gave me the story and the reason why I should do what I need to do. And from that day on, man, I always looked at everybody that was the same color as me. And I said, quit complaining about what you don't have and work hard enough to go get what you want. And that's exactly what I've been and how I've been with my kids. Because everybody complains about what the white man or the other person has. Why don't you ask them how they got it? Because if you ask how they got it, there's a reason how they got it, and you go get it the same way they did. Absolutely. And that's all I can give, my brothers.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
I appreciate you.
I walked that same path. Hey, before we get out of here, when this is released today, is Veterans Day. I want to give a shout out to all my other veterans out there who are.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Fulcher.
Appreciate y'all, man. Be good, man. Anytime you need me, brother, just give me a call.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, sir.
Y'all be good, man. Talk to y'all later.
As well.
All right.
Well, man, the positivity, the support. First of all, I'm just gonna stick on the support, for his wife, and his unselfishness. That's the right word, correct? Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely.
It's just and how it's just not in one facet of his life, but it's in all facets of what he has going on. It's giving back and helping to make better, help ameliorates is the word.
Yeah. Well, and we see a common theme with a lot of the guests that come on the show, right? Mm-hmm. Is servant leadership. Yeah. And he is definitely someone that embodies servant leadership. Right. He doesn't have the opinion that that individuals in prison or that have been incarcerated, they don't get a fair shake. He goes out there and does something about it.
Yeah.
He goes and he talks to companies and say, hey, this is what we got going on. Will you hire someone that's formerly been incarcerated?
Yeah.
On the strength of your word, we will. And so the thing is, that's the whole thing. We say, don't talk about it, be about it. And I will say our good friend David, he is definitely someone that bees about it. Yes, I know that was grammatically incorrect, but that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, his name rings bells out here in Chandler, Arizona.
Yes, sir.
They talk about him out here. Hey, yep. Thank you for tuning in. Before we get out of here, make sure you subscribe, man. Come on.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. We need you, fellas.
Bam, right there.
Mm-hmm. Right there. Yeah, right there. Hey, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for another wonderful show. Hey, until later on next week, we'll see you later on ASAP Elite.
And happy Veterans Day, cuz.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Yeah, for sure. Peace.